This video is a little different for my channel. That's not a tractor. Yeah, it's a Polaris four-wheeler. So this right rear tire has had a patch in the tread somewhere for a while, and it's been leaking. There, right there's a plug, and that's never good. You can't plug there and hope for the best. But then it picked up a cut up in here on into the sidewall, and it's the death of that. I can't just keep adding air because it's coming out way too fast. So 2 new rear tires so that they're matched in wear, and there they are. They're not cheap. Real Polaris OEM tires to the tune of $185 a piece. So let's put them on. Well, I wasn't thinking much about video when I did that, but the first tire's done. Just using this Harbor Freight tire changer. Works really well. It's great at breaking the bead. It's way better if you have it supported in the floor, but or some 2x4s or something holding it. But on these little tires, it'll get the job done just standing with your foot on there. So I got a second tire to do. I'll see if I can get a little bit more detail on that one. So there's the new tire on the rim, ready to go back on, and I pulled the other tire that wasn't leaking, and I see I got 3 plug patches right there in the tread, which I said never works, but hey, sometimes you get away with stuff. Good thing I bought 2 new tires. Alright, first thing after taking the valve core out so that there's no air at all, you got to break the bead loose. These are tubeless tires. So that's this tool. You push down. I can't do it one-handed holding the camera, so you're going to have to trust me on this. I'm going to push down and it's going to pop the bead off. Okay, just like that, the bead is separated. Have to flip it over and do the other side. These tire changers are designed to have some support base, so I had to put my foot over on this side and push down. Not bad, but it's not as easy as it would be if it were attached to the floor. So I'll flip it over, pop the bead on the other side. Once the bead's popped, you can set the tire up on the top part here where it supports the wheel. This is got a nice pad, but the finished surface here needs to be protected, because why don't I mount it the other direction, you say? Because this dished part of the wheel is important. You got to get the tire down into that to get clearance on the opposite side. And there's only on this one side, so I like that up so that I can see where it is. And that collar fits down. Then you screw this thing on, and that'll hold the tire while we wrestle with getting it off the bead. I got to tighten that down. These are tire spoons. I use these to get up into there and stretch the tire up over the rim. There's 3 different styles. This one's a little bit wavy, has a bit of a hook on the end. Pretty useful for bringing the tire up. And this is just flat for working the bead around. Had these for years, but this one came with the Harbor Freight tool. It isn't much good as a tire spoon. These are a lot better. It's good as a lever arm for busting the beads. And when I need it, I use it as a tire spoon, but it's not as good as the gray ones there. Here's first spoon in. You notice the tire is down in there, in that gap. That's the only way you're going to have enough clearance that this side of the tire will come up over the rim. So with one spoon in, I'll stick this other flat spoon in next to it and just start working my way around. It takes a little bit of force, good exercise. Alright, this isn't all that easy because I'm by myself. You see I've got the spoon a little bit farther. This is the flat spoon. Just leveraging it as best I can across here, using that centerpiece for leverage. Bring it around, and that tire's off. So it's not too bad. Then the bottom bead, usually you can just lift it right up because you can get the tire at an angle and just lift it right off the rim at as much of an angle as you can get. And just like that, the second side is off. This one must have had some fix-a-flat in it or something stinky in there. But now it's a matter of putting the new tire on. Usually not bad because new tires are stretchy, more stretchy than old 10-year-old worn out UV deteriorated tires. Something important to note is tires like these, sort of like tractor tires, are directional. And you don't have to guess because there's an arrow that says traction that way. So pay attention to that while you're putting the tire on, or you're going to be doing it again. It's always a good idea to replace the valve stems. The one on the other side was pretty beat up, and this one isn't great. I'd pretty much always replace them if I've got a tire off. This is what I'm using. The short ones that are for ATVs. You know, this rim isn't very deep right here, so you don't want a valve stem sticking out. It'll just get caught on everything, so you want a short one. That's the TR412. I think they're 7/8 inch long or something, but they're the short ones, good for ATVs. You get these out just by pulling from the back side. So I just put vice grips on there, get a grip, yank that thing right out the back. If it gives you much of a fight, just run a razor blade in there and cut it, and then I'll show you how to put a new one in. This is what a new valve stem looks like. It just goes through a hole in the rim now that you've cut the other one out. And this tool has one job in the entire world, and that's to pull a valve stem through a tire like that. I don't like single-use tools, specialty tools, but there's no other way to do it without damaging it or risking damage, and you get a lifetime use out of that. Alright, time to put the new one on. You've got to put some lubrication around that rim of the bead of the tire to slip over the rim, and there's only one tool for that, Dawn dish soap. It comes right off the kitchen counter in the house there, so I think tire shops may have something else, but for my entire life, Dawn dishwashing soap is the way to go. So with the rim all lubed up, it's not too hard to push it down on. The first bead is super easy. Just did it basically one-handed. So second bead, you need the spoons. Once the tire's on, you got to pop the bead back on. So take the valve core back out to let plenty of airflow. Start flowing the air in there, and you should hear that bead pop in. All it takes is some air pressure. Here it comes. One little edge over here is still fight. There it is. You get that satisfying pop sound, and your bead is fully seated and ready to hold air. Okay, I figure you guys know how to put the tire back on, so I didn't video that, but I'm torquing these nuts. Looked it up, 60 foot-pounds torque. Always torque the lug nuts. Alright, these two rears are on and this job's done. Hopefully they last another 10 years like the first set. One thing that makes this job easier is a mini split. Got some heat and air conditioning in here, which is very nice.